At the end of the day, we're celebrating people's largest purchase in their lives.
Yeah, 20 years in the business. What have you learned over 20 years?
Everyone was at least 20 years my senior, and most of the guys didn't work at the bank, they owned the bank. Like if you come here and you know no one, you join Chamber and you participate and you know everybody.
We're all facing our own battles in our mind. What do you do to keep yours centered?
Especially when you're young, you make a bigger impact, you stand out. Like if you want your business to thrive, get involved.
You know, Gary Keller said, in a universe this big, how can you think small?
Yeah. Reach down and give someone a hand up. Like that to me is the biggest legacy I can provide here in St. Pete.
Hello everyone, welcome to Talkin St. Pete. I'm your host, Ryan Bogden. Before we dive into today's awesome episode, I want to let you know this episode is sponsored by Bogden Homes at Keller Williams St. Pete. So if you know anyone who's interested in moving to the great city of St. Petersburg, or you're already here and you have real estate needs, find our contact in the description below. And now on to our amazing guests. I have the privilege and honor of introducing Phil Yost, the owner of Compass Land and Title. Well, Phil, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it feels great to be here.
Welcome back from Peru. You were just sharing the story. How was that?
Honestly, okay, I've done Europe, Southeast Asia, Caribbean, Africa for a month, and it's the best place we've ever been.
Really? What made it so great?
Every single person that I met was like a warm embrace. It was like they hugged you. It was the most unique experience. I've never met so many friendly people. Then you've got the luxury of these wonderful hotels and train rides. And then you're just blown away by the food and like the topography. So overall, yeah, it was the coolest trip I've ever done.
I definitely need to go.
Yeah, I've got the guy whenever you're ready.
Andes Mountains.
Andes Mountains.
You hiked up 17,000 feet.
Yeah. So it's debatable. There's one thing that says 16,000, one says 17.
Oh, what sign
so
you're
I'm
looking
taking
at?
17. I'm taking the 17.
I've only done a 14er, and that got tough. So I can imagine that extra. You know, I'm a certified skydiver, and after 15,000 feet in a plane, you need to be on oxygen.
Yeah.
So
they had oxygen tanks. Luckily, and there was a moment where I had like such a headache. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna make it, and I did not want to ask for the tank, so we just kept on. We made it.
It's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, super glad to have you on the show. So you are the owner of Compass Land Title.
Correct.
It's been your jam for a bit.
Yeah, since 2005.
Yeah, 20 years in the business. What have you learned over 20 years?
Well, we got a couple hours, maybe.
Let's go, dude. I don't.
It's been a really enjoyable ride, I'll be honest with you. One of the things that I would say that stands out the most is that there's no like formula or like quick thing, but it's just so basic. Wake up every day, have a great attitude, a smile on your face, and endeavor to do your best. Like you just do your best, and if you're authentic you, success will come on you. It's just unavoidable. Like you'll have all the successes, but just doing the most basic stuff. Return a phone call in 24 hours. Try to comport yourself with a smile on your face. Talk to everyone that you meet, and before you know it, your bank account will reflect all those things.
Yeah. Well, you've got the style, right? You show up that way now. You're a memorable member of the community for sure, and the way that you give back as you do a lot of philanthropy work, which I want to talk about. But let's go back. So it's 2005.
Yeah.
I like to always go to the moment of what made you go, okay, I'm going to start a title company.
Okay, so I was a real estate investor. I had a real estate license. I was doing some business brokerage. I was living in one of the most beautiful places in Florida. I was living in Seaside, which if you haven't been on Highway 30A, it's where the Truman Show with Jim Carrey was filmed. It was the first community where they experimented with new urbanism. So you had like this beautiful 10-mile stretch of road on the Gulf, crystal waters, and they really like set aside a lot of land not to be developed. And so they had like these like old school communities where it was you have retail down below, people lived upstairs. They oriented everything where you sit on your porch, and they had alleyways so you didn't have cars. So I lived there for a while and was doing real estate development. Was like everyone that graduated from Florida State at the time went to Atlanta. It was like the business hub. This is late 80s, early 90s. And then everyone from Atlanta had a beach house on 30A. It was just the
This
place.
up in the Panhandle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know 30. I used to live in Navarre, Destin area.
Okay.
so
Then
I
you
know
know
it.
it. So I was living up there and still doing real estate flips and involved in real estate every time. And I owned a restaurant. Opened a Moe's.
Oh, you did.
Welcome to Moe's. So opened a Moe's at the only regional mall, which was Panama City Mall. Every day driving up 30A, just sand dunes, like emerald water, loving it. Every time I'd go in to do a title closing, it was like there was like a bit of hostility. It was the worst experience. You got some angry person doing the closing, and I was doing hospitality in addition to real estate, and I'm like, I'm gonna take all these things I've learned from hospitality, like where you treat people what just like where they're blown away at the end of the day. And when you come in, there's always a bit of like showmanship. Like I'm gonna make the office look outstanding as opposed to like it looks
A white box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my plan was to open title and put management in play, but I loved it. So I had all these other entrepreneurial endeavors that I had done up to that point. But once I started doing title, I really like the problem solving nature of it. And then at the end of the day, we're celebrating people's largest purchase in their life. So just fell in love with the whole process. And so here I am, 20 plus years later, showing up every day and doing titles.
So what brought you to St. Pete?
Fell in love with St. Pete in the 80s. Music scene brought me here initially.
Really?
Saw Beastie Boys with numerous other artists, over at Janus. And so I was always driving over to St. Pete because it was funky in the 80s. Hadn't quite developed, but I just fell in love with it.
Yeah, what was St. Pete like in the 80s?
Oh, it was like sort of ghost town.
Yeah.
It was like ghost town, but it had like all the charm of like you could see the history and all these old buildings. So I just always gravitated towards St. Pete. There was something special. So graduated from Florida State in '92. Was obsessed with coming back here. Got married and ended up in Palma Seca. I was like got divorced, and the first thing I did was move over to St. Pete. Yeah. So and just have watched the evolution. That was '04, but it was the arts. It was the sort of eclectic, funky nature of St. Pete. It did not feel as homogenized as other communities. So I did everything I could to get to St. Pete. So that was '04. I moved here.
So and then '05 you opened.
Yeah.
Okay, but so I mean, a year here. How were your contacts? Like I always like that journey of like the startup. Like what was that?
So coming over here, not really knowing a soul. Best thing I ever did was scraped up at the time. It seemed like a ton of money, and I did a tennis membership at the Vinoy, and so I'm an insomniac, awake every morning like 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm gonna work out every morning at 5. That's just the routine. So I started working out at the Vinoy at 5, and at the time I had hair,
You had long hair.
Oh, like Tarzan hair. So every morning I work out at the Y, and at the Vinoy, and it's exactly what you expect. It's like everyone was, at least 20 years my senior, and most of the guys didn't work at the bank; they owned the bank. So I looked a little odd with this particular group, but it also got people's attention.
Right.
So people were curious. Like, this kid's here every morning. And I was a kid back then amongst this group. So so every morning at like 5:30, like I was there at the gym. They invited me to join this club. It was called the 5-Day-a-Week Club. So you have to be there by 7 a.m. or it costs you $5 in fines.
Oh.
5 days a week. So at the end of the year, and all these guys are ultra competitive. So no one wanted to miss. We'd have weight loss contests.
So 7 a.m. at the gym?
So 7 a.m. is the latest you can sign in.
Okay.
So you have to be there by 7 a.m.
You were there early.
Yeah, I'm like the core group of guys were all there by 5 a.m. So joined this group. Everyone's 20 or 30 years my senior. Nicest group of guys. They asked me to join, and of course I joined. So at the end of the year, we'd have thousands of dollars in fines. We'd all get together, and like brothers do, we'd bicker and fight over the charity that we'd pick. So we'd pick a charity. We'd have $10,000 in fines. Not gonna lie, we got drunk. We ate steaks and just like ripped on each other, and in the nicest kind of way. And these guys became my brothers and really looked out for me.
And they helped you launch?
They completely helped me launch. So what do you do, son? I do title work. Oh, that's interesting. I got it back then. I have a $2 million deal. That was like paramount to my survival. So all these nice gentlemen sort of took me under their wing. That's when with Grand Prix, it used to be coordinate with Festival of States, which was a parade that used to run down Central, run by Sun Coasters, which these are all these like organizations from a sort of bygone era, and they all participated in it. It was the coolest thing ever, like getting swept up in it. Getting invited to people's daughters' debutante events. Like I was just blown away by the hospitality I was shown. So all these guys are still dear friends, still go to the Vinoy. Met some of the best people. So my little membership was $3,600. And my wife and I had this conversation. Are you sure it's a good time to join? And I was like, yeah, we don't know many folks. And it's just, it's like the premier sort of social club at the time. It was the best money I've ever spent. It's the best use of my time developing and fostering these relationships with people that were sort of the pillars of the community.
Yeah, so immediately you identified a community that you wanted to become involved with.
Yeah.
And became genuine friends with them. And then they helped you rise up.
Yeah, we ended up with this. So like one of the we started doing that. We've got really smart. So our little charitable contribution, we'd go to like some type of benefit event, like a gala, and then we'd bid on a house. So every year we'd try to bid on a house like on Anna Maria. So all of us would coordinate schedules, and we'd all go with our spouses and just chill. And so then again, like deeper like friendships, more involvement. My wife and I just dreamed of being part of this community and doing the charitable stuff that like we would sit there and go, oh my God, we love St. Peter's. It's so awesome. And like, how do we get involved? And that was something we would talk about. It's like, as a business owner, I feel that there's like, you're compelled to like give back to the community that you like make money on. And we went full chips in on being involved as many charities and things that we dug, right? It's like not things. So it's like for us, it was the art. So we just participated in every art charity that we possibly could. And the craziest, I mean, people were like, oh yeah, like people that have been in St. Pete for 5 generations like us. And I catch people saying that. And I'm like, that felt really good. That like that our little thumbprint and the, brief years that we've been here, we feel like very ingrained.
They thought that you've been here forever.
Yeah. And we felt like we had, to be honest.
Yeah, because you've given back in such a big way. So you've always had it, because you said the music scene in the 80s, so there's always been an interest for you in the arts.
Yeah, completely. And this is really, for me, like, Miami's too big, you get lost. It's such a cool vibe.
Do you think that we're comparable to so I just had this conversation yesterday. Someone said, asked me, do you think you'll live in St. Pete forever? I said, well, forever is a tough word. I think I'll always have an abode here.
Yeah.
And I said, to me, St. Pete, I've never really experienced Miami, but I can imagine that maybe we're Miami in the 50s right now.
Yeah.
Do you think that's comparable?
Yeah, I think that vibe, going out to like Paso Grille Beach, like historic 8th Avenue, you're out there, which is 13 minutes from our downtown. And everyone I know, like I've always like surfing has been a hobby of mine. I spent some time on the West Coast.
Is that when you got the long hair?
Yeah, definitely. So, it's like San Diego, Malibu. It has that sort of like cool beach vibe still. But like before it developed. So, I mean, we're watching the growth now, which at times I'm sure you'll even say, even the years you've been here, there's elements of that that's probably bittersweet at times. But growth is an inevitable secrets out. But yeah, I think it's that like sort of budding, artsy, cool town. And when you walk down Central, this. Like, it's so nice. You run into like my bank. I bank with Bank of Tampa. It's like a block over. That one little block, I see so many people that I have met since I've been here. And if I shoot the other way going, like, how about the block with Il Returno and the butcher shop?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, Twee with her
Yeah, you have to.
businesses.
Yeah. So do you feel like you always have to be on, or is that a natural thing, or is there a time when you're not? Like,
No, I
so that was something when I stepped into
yeah,
leadership.
yeah.
For me, it was like, oh, now I'm on. Like, I don't know who's watching ever because our downtown is small. I've
Yeah.
had people see me. Oh, I saw you out the other day, and I'm like, I didn't see you. you know.
Yeah.
So you,
What?
yeah, people are watching.
Was I well behaved?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you come in and I will admit my one of my faults is like knowing so many people, but like in the moment, my recall is not always there with the name.
I think you're fine. You know what? You remember every detail about them, probably.
Yeah, you
right?
remember that,
Yeah.
and I go, oh man,
Yeah.
But
I don't think. You know what? I think. And this doesn't apply just to St. Pete, but I think being authentic,
yeah,
and whatever that entails, I don't think you need to always be on. I think people like see right. Like they see when you're just authentic and just natural, and I think that's one of the beautiful things. Like you just walk around and chill,
Yeah.
and like you talk to people because you're genuinely interested. You want to know about what's going on. Yeah, that probably does lead to some business success. People feel comfortable with you and call you at some later time when they need something. But yeah, I don't feel like I have to be on. I think I can just be.
Well, yeah, I think it's authentic. I guess there's just moments when like people see and they want to, and you're like, man, I'm just kind of tired right now. You know what I mean? You're catching me.
That's when you jump in the car and go eat breakfast or lunch somewhere outside of downtown.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta have those spots on.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When you need that moment to where it's nothing personal against anyone. I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. So yeah, if you're in the downtown, if you're in the hub,
you got to be ready.
Yeah, that's why you got to look sharp and
Well, I'm just taking notes from you, Phil.
Well, I think there's a point where the student overtakes the master. We're close.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, pass you the baton real soon.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, in the arts, I just couldn't see you with that. And so, how is that? Like, I think I haven't talked with anyone that maybe has been as involved in you in that. And so, yeah, you're giving back, but I feel like it comes back.
Yeah, that's a if there's one thing I can say is it's really funny whenever you get involved. You pick something you really love. So as we've stated, it was arts, and so when we first moved here, St. Pete was like there was like sort of budding little art community. It was super funky. So Duncan McLean with the glass, like so. Then
that's where we're going tonight, right? Yeah, we're going there tonight. Our award ceremony is there tonight.
Okay. So Duncan's. Have you been to his spot?
No, first time tonight.
You're gonna be blown away. So this guy was really one of the pioneers. I saw all of Duncan's like lit glass pieces at Island Way Grill in Clearwater when I was in my 20s. Fell in love with it. Followed Duncan. Would always go to events at his place, which he was a trailblazer here. So over here at Florida Craft Art, for about 5 years, I walked by and looked at the Duncans in the window. Last year, I bought my first Duncan piece. It's in my house. It's butterflies, big red vase. It reminds me of St. Pete so much. Oh, I'm sorry, it's bees, which is even cooler. Pollination of everything.
Course. Yeah.
Which I think about the symbolism of like St. Pete pollinating the growth of all these like small startup businesses. So I got my little bee Duncan vase after looking at them, admiring them for 20 years, shaking Duncan's hand. So I got the vase now at the house. I leave it lit. Because like every morning as I start my day, and it reminds me of all the cool things in our community.
Would you call it? Are you nostalgic?
Yeah, for sure.
I feel it from you. I feel it. Yeah. There's a lot of nostalgia, and I think you can from the arts, the appreciation of creativity. Which thrives here in the community.
It's not an accident that we have the museums we have. Salvador Dali.
Which one's your favorite?
So tough question, real tough question. So the impact that Dali has had is amazing. If you've ever had a chance to do the Halloween event, do it. It's insane. Having access to the galleries. So love Dali. I love what Tom James has done with the James Museum. Been real active with those guys. Have you walked that yet? Yeah, like the wildlife selection. I helped sponsor Andy Warhol's View on the West. We had an exhibit here.
Whoa.
So Andy Warhol, of course we all dig, right? So Andy Warhol was obsessed with cowboys in the West. So that was like a special exhibit there. Getting to like help procure and bring that here. talk about feeling cool. Like, just I like started with nothing and have just scratched and struggled. So, but like, it's such a great feeling to be part of a community and then be a presenting sponsor and some of the things. I like that being like just unbelievable.
You said something. Let's go back further. When, and where did your entrepreneurial journey start? What was the first business for Phil?
Vertical Ventures was really
No, here local. That was locally here.
so at the
Generally,
time,
for your life.
So Vertical Ventures was my first really big entrepreneurial undertaking.
But that was after Moe's and all
No,
that.
that was I started that in '96 in Tampa,
Okay.
and sold it, and then the awesome partners that took that and brought it to St. Pete. That like I was always like really good friends with these guys, and they saw how cool St. Pete was, and they opened the big flagship location here, which I'm partners again. But so I started the rock climbing gym.
That was before or after real estate investing?
So they were simultaneous.
Okay.
So like while I've done real estate, I've always had like another hustle. There's always been like some other interest.
Yeah.
And just it's I don't know if it's sickness maybe, but being entrepreneurial, you can't help yourself.
No, you see everything. You're like opportunities everywhere.
Yeah. So everything was sort of happening at the same time. But I got a PhD in business from opening the climbing gym though, because there wasn't one in Florida. So I physically built the space. So after my day job, I would go and be on a saw and scaffolding, and I built because I was broke. I was in my 20s, so you just do everything. So built the climbing gym.
So you were a climber.
So I've always been an outdoorsman and a sportsman. So went to Atlanta, which was business hub, like I told you. Saw the concept and just brought it to Florida. So that got me really started in doing entrepreneurial endeavors, and it's come full circle. So now it's here in St. Pete. On that section of Central, there wasn't much happening up there. Like it was still like when this 14, 15 years ago when we opened, it was sort of like ghost town. So back then to invest a couple million in real estate and hire 70 people was just groundbreaking. So it's like a baby seeing it like grow up and graduate from law school or business school at Wharton or something. So it's really cool again that this thing that like budded so long ago ended up here with me in St. Pete and watching like the impact. We have 500 visitors there every day. So that's sort of where
It's a cool place. I've been.
Yeah, that's where I got my like entrepreneurial like bend. That was my first real big endeavor.
So you started
other than
in
mowing
Tampa.
lawns or like the normal kid hustle stuff.
Yeah. But you always had that in your genes.
Started in Tampa, but like and then my guys that I had sold the business to had the vision to bring it to St. Pete, which is just such a superior location here. And that's been a real joy to watch that blow up and just do so well and hire so many people.
That's cool. That's definitely cool to have that closer, even though you started it somewhere else.
Well, this is the right city for it.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It's just, again, the uniqueness. Like, just going down Central makes me proud to be part of this.
Yeah.
Like, starting all the way out at beaches now and just cruising all the way to, like, Pier, right? Like,
yeah, what's your favorite thing now about downtown or just St. Pete? I mean,
besides the fact that the sun's shining almost every single day, like, how gorgeous it is. I love that we've accessed, I think it's 11 miles of waterfront from Vinoy, from the very edge of Vinoy to Lashings Park. The fact that we preserve that huge corridor for fitness and access for everyone in the city. I know the pier was controversial. Rough year and trying to get
let's dive into that a little bit because I wasn't here then. So what was controversial about the pier?
Well, like everyone, change is hard, right? And a lot of the old guard is like, this pier is perfect.
The one previous, because there's been a few renditions.
So the pyramid. Okay, so there was, the old dudes would tell me about shooting snook with a spear gun on the $1 million pier. Then they built this pier that was dated and really not functioning. But as I think the hardest thing to do is come to any kind of decision making by committee, because
everyone has too many opinions.
Oh God, the fighting was insane. People were so reluctant to do this and to like spend the money. I think that this design, and now that we have it, I feel like everyone has been massaged and is okay with it. You know, you can have some people that are cranky regardless, but the access for that for like everybody in the community, it's cool. It's just so I think that's one of the most wonderful things about our city is that like, you know, no matter where you live within the city, what zip code you're in, we all have access to like walk it, bike it, go out and be fit and enjoy the beautiful waterfront. So
I love it.
it's like Sydney's Opera House, right?
Yeah.
It's like our waterfront is very much that.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And we got, the Dolly on the water, the airport
Yeah.
on the water, everything's there. Yeah, no, it's cool. And I'm excited to watch. I mean, you said about change earlier, and I think change, we know change is inevitable.
Yeah.
And at least we're heading in an upward
Yeah.
trajectory and not a
Yeah.
downward.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, the you can fix a lot of problems with money. And obviously we're on the international spotlight now. So you know, if city council does a good job, controls growth in a reasonable rate, so that the citizens that have been here for a long time aren't like being pushed aside. I think if we continue to be smart in our growth, it benefits everybody to have such a bustling economy. And I do think we just need to be mindful of that. We got a lot of out of state, out of country people looking to develop here. We just can't forsake all the funky individual
No, that's
small
my
business.
biggest fear, Phil.
Same. That's the one thing that concerns me the most. And the best way to feel better as a member of this community, as a business leader, is to be visible, take an active role, and rather than like staying at home being worried or complaining, it's like there's an opportunity to get out there. It's blown me away. I've met with the last like 4 mayors in their administration. I've had contact with them, and I'm going, I'm just someone that moved here in '04 and have taken an interest in it. And like having a meeting with every single mayor at some point. Mayor Kreisman is helping me with some zoning issues right now and is an attorney for Vertical Ventures. And I'm like, again, it's one of these things that's just incredibly cool. Like I always really had a lot of respect for him, and now he is representing me as counsel, and I came here with nothing.
What leaders do you look up to? In your growth over the years,
Kreisman for me is like such a standout. Chris Steinacher, I can't give that guy enough praise with our chamber. I've lived in different communities through the years, still have an office in South Tampa and Hyde Park. Like Steinacher in our chamber is one of the coolest things. Like if you come here and you know no one, and I got some cool stories to share in that regards. You join chamber and you participate, and everybody. I mean, and like you have like our leadership program. I'm sure you're probably familiar with Leadership St. Pete. The alumni,
Did you do that?
No, I was advised that I was too old. So and not in a mean way.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that are my peers in both age group and just where I'm at in my career, but I've afforded anyone that works for me the opportunity, and that's been my support. So anyone that wants to go through leadership that works for me, I'm willing to pay and like make allowances for them and have the time to do those things.
Yeah, it's a commitment.
So I've been presenting sponsor with Bank of Tampa, which is sort of where I started my career. They were my first big commercial lender. They're here in St. Petersburg. So Bank of Tampa and Compass have supported, we've been presenting sponsor, I want to say 5 years in a row now, for the Good Burger Awards.
Oh, nice.
Which is, it's all the charities, it's acknowledging all the small businesses, like all the folks that make our downtown unique. That's their showcase where we get to thank them. So for 5 years in a row, I've gotten involved with that.
That's cool.
You get to meet the coolest people. It's just, it's the most wonderful people.
The coolest thing about our downtown. It's just all the entrepreneurs, like you said, a lot of cool people doing neat things, a lot of creatives, the entrepreneurial mind, and the community that everyone just supports one another.
Yeah. I mean, you got that sense, right? I mean,
Yeah, well,
in the years you've been here-
I'm a byproduct of it.
yeah,
you know,
you've
but-
been like fully embraced.
Yeah, I mean, just through this show, right? You're
Yeah.
like, I think, we're plus 70 episodes, 70 plus interviews
Well,
with,
congratulations, by the way.
which is
Like,
crazy, you know?
No, it's really awesome that you've endeavored to do this. It's a great way to showcase like all the people that make our community so unique.
The greatest compliment is when I hear that people that are driving here
Yeah.
to move here and they say, I listened to your show and I heard
That's
about
really
the-
cool. That's got to make you feel wonderful.
It's bizarre and cool in the same
Yeah.
thing, right? Yeah, it's because people know, like the fact that people are listening.
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
it's like I'm putting this out there. Hopefully, someone watches, and
Yeah.
then you get the feedback that that they are, and it's helping them. I think that's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
I like to put people on blast and blow up their business.
Yeah, that's super fun. My very first office, no, not my first proper office. I had like that like sketchy office, like shared conference room. Like, you know what you do when you start.
you got bootstrapping.
So my first proper office was on the 400 block. And it was cool because like everyone on the block was like just like getting started. So Twee Lee, who owns Novella on the end of the block, she owns La Vie, which we called our cafeteria because we ate there so much. So I'm there and I meet the Scatter brothers. They're young filmmakers. Have subsequently produced a Santa Claus movie with them in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Oh no, back to Bethlehem.
Yeah, we just did a Santa Claus movie last year.
Nice.
I met them at La Vie.
Just coincidental.
They're movie makers. Now we're dear friends. They run the Sunscreen Film Festival, which this year will be 20 years. Have you done Sunscreen?
No.
Okay, you'll be a VIP'd out this year.
okay, we're
and
doing
join me. It's the coolest thing.
When is that?
It's April. I'll get you dates.
Okay.
We have filmmakers come from all over the world to
That's neat.
present their films. So Sundial is absolutely jammed up with events, filmmakers. Greenlight, that funky little cool. I don't know if you've seen movies there. You will. It's just, and I met these guys at La Vie. I met them on 400 block. We just met and we all took an interest. Chef Benstock. I mean, have you eaten at Il Returno or gone to the butcher shop and know his story?
I've heard other people have like whispered about, but I haven't gotten.
He would be a great guy to have on
Yeah.
this podcast. He went to Shorecrest. After that, went into the culinary world. Worked for Wolfgang Puck and Vale, Italy, Miami. He worked at Scarpetta. World class guy. He came back with his wife and they were visiting the parents and they fell in love with the city. And he knew he was going to open like a top end restaurant. He beat Bobby Flay, by the way. So he's Il Returno. He's right here on the block next to us. Then he opened the high end butcher shop. Go in there. Go get yourself some Wagyu hot dogs for the grill. It's insane.
Wagyu hot dogs.
Yeah. So Benstock's such an interesting character. He could have settled anywhere in the world.
And he picked here.
He picked St. Pete, and when you go and you eat there, you'll know like why he beat Bobby Flay. It's just he's
good.
another one of the guys I met on this block. It's really cool.
Love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
That's the downtown story.
Yeah, no, there's so many little pieces in that we've put it together of one shop opening and that encouraged others. We had owners Nathan on here from Green Bench and their story.
Love those guys.
Green Bench.
They talk about leaving a thumbprint on a city. I mean,
big thumbprint.
Yeah. And I feel like they do a publication too, right? I feel like they have like some kind of funky downtown publication.
Maybe they do.
Where
We
they
didn't talk
feature
about
stuff.
that. Yeah, but just that their involvement with the community and helping that part of downtown shape.
Yeah.
It's been neat to get this the backstory because being here, I've only been here since 2021, and so my curiosity is at the highest level. I'm coming in with the most curiosity to learn the history and piece it all together. How did we end up with this such a cool place?
Yeah,
and it's.
The thing that stood out to me, and I think this is what contributed to it. So we had Kenwood, which was historically a gay community, which that community gets credit for really helping develop the city, and the whole sense of community that is in Kenwood, I feel like is what has like leads to all the other communities, and just. We'll start with Kenwood, and then you've got the wealthy old guard, we'll call them, or the folks back then, like as the city was transforming, that was the folks that lived on Snell that were like yacht club members, and and then you had like the young, like the startups came with the technology, so you had like younger kids. And the one thing I know, and then we had the arts and music scene. The one thing I noticed when I first moved here is you'd go to a restaurant and you have this older Southern couple mixing with all the funky, cool kids. And there was never like the sense of like, I just always felt that like the differences here were all embraced. And you'd have the people that like their daughter's going through debutante, but they're cool hanging out with the kids with tattoos and like the folks from Kenwood, like everyone just blended. And there was like inclusion, which I know is a bad word now, but that was the thing about St. Pete. Like, well, I was talking about Peru earlier. St. Pete is a warm embrace, right?
Yeah. I feel that. I tell everyone that. I tell people when they're coming, you know, because of being in the business of helping people move here, I say be careful when you come to visit because you won't be able to move here fast enough, you know?
Well, and then so now they like, you know, what happens, it's weird, is like you yourself, your baton's getting passed to you. You will be the establishment, as will all these cool young folks I've met through you that are like great business people. You guys have to continue like your version, like how you see it, but like you will be the welcoming.
Yeah, for
You're gonna
everyone.
welcome all these new people. Your business of real estate just naturally puts you in that position where you're like you really are an ambassador to the city. No matter what organization that you have belonged to, you're the welcoming committee. And I feel that we have that obligation. When we do a closing, Joshua Bramer, who's my manager here in St. Pete, one of the most awesome guys ever to work with. He's I hear him at the end of the closing. He like gets people dialed. I mean, like, and it's pride that has you speaking, but you want everyone to enjoy the city and like give them like, oh, here you go, check this spot out. What are you into? And like, it's just fun. It's just fun. And then you part ways and you're like, I hope to see you. And like nothing is like makes me happier than when you run into someone like, oh my God, you remember us? You know, you closed our house. We love St. Pete. So it's just sort of cool. I feel like the energy that we put out when we meet folks, like it seems sort of corny, but it's one of those things. It's like it really does play forward. Like what, right? Like the enthusiasm.
No. Well, and you have created a culture of being remembered. Right, like in the way that you show up. I know you know this. But I'm complimenting you right now. And
I'm
also,
a blush. Well, you won't be able to tell because I got an Andean mountain sunburn.
You got your 17,000-foot sunburn. But no. So this is a compliment and a question in one.
Okay,
right?
I like that.
Okay, because you've shown up. You leave a presence and a remembrance. People like through the gifts, your energy, the questions, the way you show up. Was that a natural thing, or was there somebody in your life that taught you how to do that?
Well, I feel like I developed. I feel like I've always been enthusiastic about what I'm doing in life.
Because I think I'm watching this like surfer dude come together with business, and it's not this stuffy, you know, white collar. Even though we're both wearing white collars right now, but white collar. You know, do you know what I mean? Like it's.
Well, that goes back to I think St. Pete embraces its citizens. And whatever you bring, there's an opportunity for you to thrive here. And it's just, you can be authentic you, and that's okay. And like you grow with the city. And I feel like St. Pete was the perfect incubator for me to take my dreams, and they've come true in this town. I pinch myself.
How'd you come up with the name Compass?
Always keep your compass setting, right? Like no matter what's going on, like whatever your true north is, like whatever your goals are, it's like, you know, we all have to walk through our personal storms. And I had a couple businesses at this point, but I just had a hunch that this was going to be it. And so I just wanted to keep my compass setting on the right course at all times. So it was like a really easy naming process.
I like it.
Yeah, no, it's a mantra. It's really easy. Like no matter what we're encountered with, and like we all have both personal and business obstacles ahead of us. But I feel like if you just always go back to, I'm going to do exactly what I know I should do, like it makes things a lot easier. So keep your let's all keep our heading.
keep our heading strong. Yeah. So I mean, you seem like a pretty regiment, even with your flow, like your artsy flow, but yet regiment up 5 in the gym. What else is there? Anything else you do to keep your head straight? And you just mentioned the word mantra, so that's what makes me want to ask that, because the doubt will creep in. You know, we are, like you said, we're all facing our own battles in our mind. What do you do to keep yours centered?
You know,
I
part of
don't,
the reason I wake up real early in the morning is that it's quiet, and given our industry and like no matter what your business is, to be honest with you, I feel like once the day sets in, we're like surrounded by noise. There's a million things coming at you, so. I was a typical college student. My whole youth, I'd go to bed at like 3 or 4. I just stayed up late. That was just how I was wired. I completely flipped that script and started waking up at 3 or 4. And the quiet and the meditative allow you to sort of formulate what the day is going to look like. And it took me forever to get to where I could wake up at that time. I do not need an alarm, but to have like 2 hours every single morning, um, so I get out, like whether it's the gym or I ride my bike on the waterfront and watch the sun come up. It's like just having a little bit of gratitude for like everything that like is in your life. It's like that morning meditation. And so for me, it's like just like being outdoors for a little bit and being by myself and being quiet and processing and digesting what the day that I just put to bed looks like. And then I think every morning I just give some real time about thinking about what the goals are and what you'd like to accomplish. So I feel like if we all do that, you just meditate a little bit, like whatever it is that you enjoy doing, and like again, keep your course heading on like you know
yeah.
what you know you're trying to accomplish.
Well, yeah. That silence is so
Yeah,
important
especially now we're surrounded by.
It's all constant.
Yeah.
It's constant. The regrounding. You know, I'm rereading Seven Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra.
Wow. Yeah, I read that. Man, so I used to consume books. I actually minored in literature when I was at Florida State.
Really?
And I would read like 4 books, and that is a book that's really has stood
Yeah.
out. And I think the revisit's probably really smart to do.
Well, I've been honored and
Yeah.
privileged to be a keynote speaker at the Hometown Titan Retreat that's at the Mojave on April 10th.
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats on that.
So, 20 minutes on stage, and I'm like, what do I talk about?
Yeah.
It's kind of a little bit of imposter syndrome, which is
Yeah.
good because
And
I think the growth is there. But I'm going back to all my roots.
Yeah,
And
those are the things that shaped you. So really, really smart, because that became part of your hard drive, and it's sort of fun going back to revisit, right?
oh yeah, because you get a different
Yeah.
lesson out of it,
Yeah.
another remembrance
Yeah.
out of that. And he talks about how important creating the silence is, because that's when you're tapping into the true potentiality, right? And you're letting your intuition shine without the noise.
Yeah.
So I love that you do that, because I think our thought process is everything.
Yeah.
Thoughts are so powerful.
Yeah. Well, so we have to create the space that keeps us in that we're all gonna, like we were discussing, we're all gonna encounter things that stormy weather, but we can reset that. And like Deepak, I mean, that's always been like one of his big tenets is the reset, and like how your attitude, and like you've seen my Stay Positive AF campaign, which is a little bit on the edgy side, but I mean it. I mean exactly that. If you're not doing something that's positive, quit doing what you're doing. Like we all need to stay in that positive space on the smallest things that we're doing. That ultimately leads to happiness. Is like, even if the weather's cloudy today, in your mind, it's going to be sunny. And like, if you just like approach life that way, it is sunny.
We were talking about before we started rolling about how quickly these 20 years have gone.
Yeah.
Let's start. Like, what have you experienced? So, I mean, you said it's gone faster than you imagined it would.
It like everything that like cool old people in my life. Well, now that I'm old, but like I've been really blessed. Art Robinson was a customer of mine at the climbing gym. I was building the rock climbing gym. This guy would call every day, "When are you going to open? When are you going to open?" I mean, it was the point of like almost like harassment. And I said, you know what? I said, we're probably going to be a month out, but why don't you come up and meet me? So, retired Marine sergeant, this dude, the flat top, I would put him in his 70s when I first met him. He's like, I love rock climbing, son. And so I was like, man, this guy's a spokesperson. I gave him a membership. We became really dear friends. But I remember him telling me back then, he's like, Phil, he's like, I was a Marine. I was 18. I was made of nails. And he's like, I don't know where the years went. He goes, I'm just telling you this. He was like every morning when I shave, I don't know who the old guy is. He goes, enjoy stuff along the way. So I've had one or two other people like actually provide that. Jack Staples used to own Donzi Yacht, owned islands in the Bahamas, ultra wealthy, private jets. And I remember him telling me this was one of the, he goes, it's going to go by really quick. And he's like, honestly, he goes, as you're like struggling to get the things in your life that you want, he's like, all of his friends had huge yachts. They had helicopters, jets. And Jack was telling me, he's like, a lot of folks are miserable. They get all this stuff and they don't have relationships with their like family. Like they foregoed all that and now they're miserable. So it's not the stuff. And he told me it's a journey. So he's like, don't get lost as you're trying to come up. And it rang, God, it's so true now. I'm like, if it went by like that, you will like hit the financial goals. Like if you just really stay true to like whatever you set out to do, you want to be a billionaire, you will. If you want to, whatever your number is, like whatever it is that you want, like if you really like every day, like set out to do that.
Yeah, but you said something so powerful in there that it's not, it's the relationships that, all those guys, even if they may on paper have every, but who's going to be there when they pass?
Well, when he told me that, I was like, I was probably 32 years old. And I was like, at that crucial juncture, like I feel like late 20s to early 30s is really when you're trying to get dialed. You're trying to figure it out. And I'm so grateful he told me that because I always try to maintain that balance. And even though I was going to grind and I was going to spend all these hours in the office or out hustling, I'm like, I really put importance on trying to have those relationships still. And even like in the things that are most challenging, like trying to like enjoy that process. Like, oh yeah, everyone would love a Rolls Royce, wouldn't they? But like, guess what? When you don't have a ton of money, it's sort of fun trying to figure out like what fits you best. And like that was one of the things that sort of stood out. So, as I've struggled like financially and to grow stuff, I've always tried to like look at the blessings that are right there, like just the immediate, like, oh my God, we had no dough, and you know what we do? Every Friday was date night, and I go out and sit behind the Don Cesar. I couldn't afford a room, and but we had like one little bottle of like $6 French champagne that we found. And that was our Friday night for a long time. And I felt like a billionaire. Like all the money, you can't replace that. So
no, it's the moment.
Again, it's what St. Pete affords, right? I mean, 13 minutes from here, we got Sugar Sand, and it's free to walk out there.
It's funny. I just had a buddy who returned from Bali, and I said, how are the beaches? He goes, dude, we got the best beaches here. Going all the way to the other side of the world. He's like, their beaches are
I did Bali. Bali was a dream, and I got to speak to that for a second. I'm glad you brought that up. So as a surfer, as a kid, I'd flick through the magazine, and there's these pictures of Bali, the cabins out over the water, the whole thing. So I saved all my money in my 20s and flew to Bali, 37 hours travel, a long travel day, LAX to Osaka, Japan, to Bangkok to Bali. Get there, bad experience in the cab, get out of the cab, run down to the beach, and there's more trash. And I like the amount of trash because no one ever told you that in Indonesia, it's one of the poorest like countries. They don't have the luxury of having a landfill. So the beaches here are so far superior to flying 37 hours to go to seek paradise, right? We live in paradise, which every once in a while it's good to hear someone tell you that. Like, we live in paradise.
Yeah, well, you become like I won't say numb to it, but like just it becomes a norm, right? Like that's like your standard is like, oh yeah, it's just the beaches there.
350 days of sunshine. Like, oh yeah, the sun's always shining. The skies are always blue. That's where it's good to take a minute. And like what we were just saying, from this studio, if we wanted to take this show mobile, you and I could be walking in Sugar Sand on Paso in 13 minutes from here.
Right.
So again, it's not hard to work in real estate in this market, is it? Like, you're just like, oh my God, I got stuff to show you and tell you about. Like, it just, I feel like it's really easy to sell and help people find homes and commercial buildings when we love it so much.
I just had that conversation with Mike Sweezy, who's the CEO and president for the economic development of St. Pete. And he was saying, he came, I'm forgetting where he came from. Was it Iowa? Yeah, Iowa. He came from Iowa.
Yeah.
He was like, do you know how much easier it is to convince businesses to move here
Yeah.
than Des Moines, Iowa?
The pitch is a layup.
Right. You know, it's
Yeah.
like you
Total
just look.
layup.
Let's look outside. Right. Yeah.
Like we
Well,
were saying, like it, and I think, you know, as we endeavor to do what we do our business every day. I
Yeah.
think it's great to like every once in a while take that minute and just go, yeah, this is pretty freaking awesome where we live.
yeah, and even in the car community. So you know, you just invited me to that event that we did over in
Yeah.
Tampa. A totally different world over there.
How fun was that?
That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cars, cigars, and watches.
Yeah.
Shout out to those guys.
Yeah, it's all the things we love.
Yeah. But I mean, where else you can't? I feel like up north, but even if you want to be in a car community, you can't. It snows, it rains,
We got so much cool stuff. Yeah, we got a track to have access to, and yeah, that was really cool.
It was really cool. I'm excited to do all that. You know, that's one thing I'm just excited about with this show and great guys like you and more support from the community is just to really help shape this city.
Yeah.
You know, as we continuously grow and get more exposure on here, and having these conversations really is the heartbeat to who's behind. You know, it's one thing when you walk into a shop or you see but you don't know who's behind the scenes. You don't know the story of the come up. Everyone just thinks it was there and it was easy.
Yeah, overnight success. It takes 20 years, right? You doing this is such a service to the community. When we had the COVID shutdown, I had been out probably for 20 years. I was out 5 nights a week trying to like foster business. So I was staying home, and then my $10,000 monthly marketing budget now is loosened up. So I got with the filmmakers and started showcasing artists. My favorite one was Alex Harris. I don't know if you've met Alex yet. Alex is a R&B singer, signed with Sony Records. I believe it's Sony, but like he's on the charts, great guy. He started Arts Conservatory for teens. So like underserved kids in our community, when they've cut arts funding, this goes back to my art thing. They pick kids up at school and like they end up getting them full scholarships at Berkeley Music in Boston. I mean, and then
That's cool.
yeah, it's really huge, right? And these are people like, you know, maybe come from a single family home. They live, like I had one kid on the south side that said I was getting bullied and beat up. There was no opportunity because I wasn't an athlete. And then he ends up with a full ride in Boston.
For music.
Yeah, so Alex Harris started Arts Conservatory for teens, picks kids up from school. If you don't have art that you're into, he helps with teaching them production. So anyway, I did a whole showcase on him, which
What's that like breaking into the movie biz? Like what?
it's awesome. It's so fun.
You're like real creatives, you know?
So I got to do 3 movies with the Florida Orchestra.
And when you say you did that, like what do you mean?
I produced 3 movies. There's a Schoenberg piece that tells this particular tale of 2 lovers walking in the woods in the Black Forest, and the woman says, the baby's someone else's, and the man says, I'll raise the baby. That he got thrown out of Vienna in like the 1900s for this. The Florida Orchestra was performing it. My neighbor's a French artist, so he painted 37 paintings in 37 days. We commissioned Joey Clay, who lives here in St. Pete. He is Stephen Marley's video photographer, so he's a dreadlock dude. Cool, so cool. We gave him creative license, and he filmed us painting the 37 paintings in 37 days that tell the story of the piece.
Oh, that's cool.
So Schoenberg's family in Vienna were so thrilled that someone was reviving this music piece that they gave us rights to the music.
Wow.
The orchestra wants to put people in seats. And so by having a visual, because everyone's so used to being on their phone. So anyway, so we do the movie, and we're like, God, people are going to be so bored with this. People were crying. It was the coolest experience to be involved with this. And then I'm a lunatic. I'm like, let's take every orchestra member out, like all the musicians. So I show up at flute and drum with 100 people in black tails. Yeah. The violinist Max had traveled from Germany with a Stradivarius. Like just getting it. Okay, I'm just going, okay, I was into like hip hop and punk rock, going to shows at Janus. And now I'm at the Florida Orchestra. Michael Francis, our conductor, was at my house as we're planning this, only in St. Pete.
Only in St.
Only in
Pete.
St. Pete can you be some kid that came up, wanted to get involved, and like have these connections.
Was that the vision you had when you moved here?
It exceeded it. I mean,
Exceeded. That's something I always say. People say like whatever you're thinking of.
beyond my wildest dreams. My wife and I, Valerie, both knew we wanted to get involved with community. We wanted to like really put all chips in our experience here, knowing that whatever you put in, you get back. So we went all in. We pushed all of our chips, and we're like, we're going to be involved. Yeah, it's a lot easier to go home at night, but I'm going to show up at this event. I'm going to meet these people, and I'm so glad we did all that. So to get to speak to city council on our pier, we put together a group that was the most eclectic, funky group, and we all had something to say about the pier design, and I felt like we were heard. Ultimately, my buddy Albert Alfonso, the architect that did our craft movement museum, which if you haven't gone in there, it's the coolest space. The building will blow you away. But so he was the pier design that I lobbied for, and we all presented. But like, again, here we are. We all moved here. We're not like fifth generation. We're not blue bloods. We all got an opportunity to steer the city by participating. And I implore people, like, if you really want to get the most out of St. Pete, get involved. Pick stuff that you totally love and dig, and like go all in. Like, especially when you're young, you make a bigger impact. You stand out. Like, if you want your business to thrive, get involved in something that's charitable that you absolutely adore doing. You'll meet the coolest people that are like-minded, and you'll immediately have even more community than you have now in this lovely city that we live in.
My ideas are firing off, and I'm thinking about what you said.
Fun, right?
Yeah.
It's fun. Let's flip over the table and we're done with the show.
Let's go. Well, I'm just thinking what you said, like it's more than what you thought. And I'm always, Gary Keller said, in a universe this big, how can you think small?
Yeah.
And so I'm always pushing the boundary.
But don't stop, please. Like, I mean, that's the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
Again, I was not financially solvent. I did not have anyone backing me. There wasn't a safety net. I came here and just gave it my all. And now I'm going, man, I feel so fortunate that I found a community that matched up with, if you work hard, if you're a good person and you meet people and you help them, it comes back. And I always feel like that's the play too. It's like, give of yourself. If you have bread, make the donations. If you have time, get involved and be present. And it's part of the formula of like the abundance thing, right?
So what's next for Phil for the next 20 years?
I'm gonna continue to like grow the business. I work with the most awesome group of young folks that are just like fully dedicated. Eventually, I'd like to have every person that is an employee that works with me to open their own office. And I would love to be 50-50 partners and do an earn out so I can retire and do my artsy, funky stuff at some point. But like, it's not quite on the horizon yet. But I really want to grow the business. I call them my kids for all the people I work with. I want them to have the same opportunities and have ownership. I feel like that's American dream. And I feel like as a business owner, the best thing you can do is give everyone opportunity to make a ton of money and have that professional satisfaction. So everyone that works with me, they're not employees, like they're future owners. So like that changes everything. Like I'm gonna own one of these one day. I feel like the intercourse in like that you have like going forward, just every little thing that is gonna be shaped by that.
What funky art stuff do you want to do?
I would love to have a gallery at some point. I would love to, plan is to stay active with my young filmmakers and do some more film projects. We have a big push to bring filmmaking. If you look at St. Pete, we have like visual arts, we have music. It would be cool to bring more filmmaking. And I think like Georgia's got a advantage on us because the state government is funding it. We have an advantage just because it's the ease of operation within our state. Mm-hmm. So I would like to continue to get involved in the film community and try to bring more filmmaking here. It'd be great to see like the stuff Coastal Creative. I'm sure you've probably been at one. the stuff they're doing with the sound studio is really, really cool. So I just, I want to, I want to continue to grow my business. Service like all of our clients and awesome people we work with, provide opportunity for my employees to eventually have like a ownership in their own office. But I want to do the funky art stuff. Like I want, like that, like I want to have that always going, which like keeps your creative portion of your mind active.
What's your legacy?
Legacy is important. I think demonstrating how important it is to have involvement through the business. I feel like I try to tithe. I really do. I try to give away at least 10% of my money. Whether a lot of people do it through their religious organization. For me, it's like community organizations. So to make a difference here on a big level, which I feel like there's people that have done so much more than us, but like I feel like with what I have, like I've taken a large proportion of my profits and redirected it into things that are community based. So I think my biggest legacy is to demonstrate how anyone can do it. You can come from somewhere with small means, and you can, whatever it is that you dream of doing, if you stay on course, pick out what it is that you want to do. If you stay on course and try to stay in that positive headspace, it's so doable. Like I look back, and just how scared I was of being broke and eating ramen noodles.
Right.
Like having your tire fire off your car. Like, I mean, these are real fears, right? And like, like anyone that has struggled and, like been through lean years, like when you get to a place where you're like starting to like feel a little comfortable, it's like, wow, I can't believe that, like overcome all of that. And in tandem to being okay financially, being able to help others and be able to demonstrate it, be able to like reach down and give someone a hand up. Like that to me is the biggest legacy I could provide here in St. Pete.
I love it. I love it. So Phil, it's your birthday. We're in St. Pete. Where are we going to eat? I know it's a tough question.
Well, man, I'm gonna make some people angry. So we're gonna have to do a progressive birthday.
Well, let's say we can go somewhere for apps. You can have a dinner. We can go for breakfast, lunch. The whole day. Where are we eating?
Okay, that's 100% what we're doing. Okay, so we might start at Juno and the Peacock. I love everything they've done. It's elegant. Food is just like outstanding. I'm gonna have to stop on the 400 block and visit my people there. Benstock, Mezzaluna, his short rib mezzaluna is his signature dish. So we're gonna share a mezzaluna there. I can't leave out the goddess Twee, who has run stuff here in this town and has been, so she owns Levy.
Okay.
So, I mean, just total business G.
Yep.
So we're going to stop by Twee's, and then my folks at Bono, what an Italian experience.
I love it there.
The hospitality, it's one of my favorite spots. Absolutely love what they've done. And then we got to see Jason Rue, who is like the OG. So he started with brick and mortar. He just opened a food hall. He's got Seaworthy. So those would be all the spots and all the chefs that I love so much that have made such a big impact here.
We're having a full cuisine day.
Yeah. It's going to be like our morning start. We're going to start with brunch. We're probably not going to eat the following day.
Right.
But those would be the stops. And I love all those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Pulpa is Jason Rue's new spot.
Okay.
If you haven't been.
No, I haven't been.
Then if you haven't done Seaworthy on Tierra Verde, it's insane.
It's good.
Yeah. Fresh caught, like really cool fish that you don't see on menus. Fresh pasta. You can show up in board shorts and flip flops and
have a great meal.
Yeah,
that's a cool thing. The difference between us and Tampa, right?
There's still. We go back to when I was saying like San Diego, sleepy surf town kind of vibe still. Like, we've got sophisticated dining, but there's like these cool places, Trophy Fish, for example. Like I feel like you can go in there and do a plate of the most wonderful and wear flip-flops and board shorts.
And get
because
away
it's
with it.
Saturday because you've been wearing that cool green suit,
Yeah.
all week.
Right,
making
you gotta
money.
get comfy. Yeah. No, I do love that. I
Yeah.
do love that. Phil, we could go on forever, man.
We could.
We could keep
Yeah.
going. For everyone that's still listening, I always like to ask the guests to come up with one word that they should comment below.
Come again?
What's one word?
Yeah.
For those that are still with us, they can comment below, so that way we know that they're still here.
Let's go with positivity.
Positivity.
Yeah, because I mean that's the mantra,
Yep.
and that's what we want to promote here in St. Pete. That is certainly what your show does. Like I gotta applaud you.
Appreciate
I'm really impressed by everything you're doing, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for
it's
being
really
here.
cool.
Thank you for being here. So
It's great for the city.
it's really good. Comment positivity, like, share, tell a friend, and go add us to your favorites. If you're watching this on Instagram, no, this is going to be on YouTube. It doesn't matter. But make sure you're subscribed. Tell a friend, share a clip, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everyone.